It's Wednesday night, everybody. Welcome to Celebrity Court, where the headline meets the law and you, the jury, decide who's guilty in the court of public opinion. Tonight, we got 5 explosive cases on trial, from the poor Girl Scout cookies lawsuit over heavy metals to Gene Hackman's cutting his kids out of his will, and he got cut out of something, to Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert's divorce battle as it starts to heat up. But it doesn't stop there. Guess what? We're diving into Marcelus Wiley facing fresh assault allegations. And yes, the Bachelorette's DeMario Jackson is ordered to pay $1 million in a shocking lawsuit. These cases are going to be messy tonight. They're going to be controversial and packed with legal drama. So grab your gavel because court is now in session. But joining us tonight, I'm going to introduce our legal beagles. First up, you know what I'm going to say, the lawyer that wrote author Shit They Never Taught Me in Law School, Jason Weiss. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm excited to get shit going tonight. Let's go.
That's right. And joining Jason is that fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner. Shatan Turner, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thanks for having me back, Your Honor. I can't wait.
We might have some attractive men for you to lust over tonight. And last but not least, humorist at law, Sean Carter. Come on into court of Celebrity Court.
Happy to be here, but by the way, the rules have changed. I don't have to listen to judges' orders. The Trump lawyers don't. I'm not either, so I might be after you tonight, Your Honor.
No, sir, because you will get what? The gavel right here, buddy. I'm ready for you. All right, just like our buddy had, just like SL said, or JP Mills said, come on in, everybody, and please do us all a favor and hit that like button. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, hit the share button and invite some folks over so that they can help us unpack these messy cases right here on Celebrity Court. Also, turn on your notifications because there might be something new coming up real soon. And as always, thank you for jumping down into the comments. Aunt Linear says, I want you so bad, Al Reynolds. You do? You do? Well, throw me a super chat. Throw me a super chat, aunts. Coyote says people are thirsty for Uncle Al. Put your pants back on. Well, you might, you may not. Who knows? Mine might be off now. He's on his way in. JP Mills says, hey, y'all. SL says, hello. Danielle Cameron, so good to have you back. Hey, y'all, I'm back from vacation. I'm glad we missed you. Tanya Kelly says, hello, everyone. Pisces Unicorn says, good evening. I'm working, but I'm here. All right, don't let us have you laughing at work and get you fired. Benicia Phillips, hey, fam, I'm in the house. Welcome on. Riri. Hey, Uncle Al, them locks is locking. Yeah, I can't even take them down. That's why they're still up there. Deliria Washington, hello, everyone. Sonny Clark says, order in court. No man buns allowed on the bench. No man buns allowed on the bench. I'm trying to get it out, but it won't come.
Oh, my God.
Says, good evening, all. And the list goes on and on. All right, everybody, let's jump into these cases. First up, the Girl Scouts. How dare they? How dare they? Nothing is safe these days, not even Girl Scout cookies. A lawsuit claims these beloved treats contain dangerous levels of heavy metals. And guess what? Parents are outraged. The Girl Scouts and their suppliers are now facing serious legal trouble. The big question is, are they guilty of putting kids at risk, or is this just another overblown lawsuit? All right, I'm going to throw this to you, Shatan Turner, because you used to be, from what I understand, a Girl Scout. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry.
She had bad things to say, so as a Girl Scout, she wanted to keep her bad comments. Now she can speak the good stuff. All right, Attorney Turner, let's go.
You see that girl in the middle with the glasses? Just make her black with shorter hair. I looked a lot like that when I was a Girl Scout. I had these big glasses. I was all enthusiastic. I was all excited about it. I was in Girl Scout chorus. And as a part of Girl Scout chorus, when Annie was touring, we all got to go backstage with the castmates because they were looking for some kids to play with. So being a Girl Scout was one of my favorite memories because my friend's mom, Linda Moore, was the troop leader, and she was an amazing person. So
My mother was the troop leader for 20 years.
That doesn't surprise me. Mrs. Reynolds, you know, she was making things happen in Martinsville, Virginia.
That's right. Yes, she was. Anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, so this is a problem. It's a whole problem because as you saw with the girls that were in the picture, the Girl Scout image is one of wholesomeness, right? Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I guess unless you're marketing crack, nobody is really trying to market that they have heavy metals and toxins in their products, right? So this is a huge blow. And let's unpack this because the lawsuit was filed on Monday and they're alleging some really serious things. So this first one about the positive for glyphosate, right? Glyphosate is the herbicide found in Roundup. They use Roundup to do what? Kill weeds. So what they're suggesting is that everybody who's eaten a sleeve of Thin Mints for dinner, like don't ask me if I've done it, right? They're ingesting Roundup. You know, as much as I like a good cocktail and I like to live on the wild side, I'm not getting a glass of Roundup on the rocks, right? But they snuck this in the cookies. The other thing is, in terms of the heavy metals, they're saying it has aluminum, lead, mercury, right? Something called cadmium above the EPA water limit. So what they're equating these Girl Scout cookies to is like Flint, Michigan water, right? These are some pretty heavy allegations. And the other thing that they say they have in them is arsenic. Do you remember the book and the movie Flowers in the Attic? Yes. What they used to poison the children in the attic was arsenic because it's undetectable when it's in sweets. So really what they're saying about Girl Scouts, if I was going to have a tagline for those who sued, is killing me softly with your cookies. These are very serious allegations.
We can't laugh at the Girl Scouts killing people.
That's what they're alleging. Yeah. So it's a big deal. It's an entire problem. And it'll be interesting whether the cookies can rebound from this branding hit.
Okay, I have a question. All right, because I'm going to piggyback off of what one of the comments was. What happened to the FDA? They don't check this stuff. So this is the interesting part, and I want to throw to you, Attorney Carter. The FDA allows trace amounts of heavy metal in food because they occur naturally in the soil and water.
Right.
But if these levels were within legal limits, could this lawsuit be more about fear mongering and financial gain rather than the real risk? That's question number one, Attorney Carter. Let me piggyback question number two, and this is for all the attorneys if you want to jump in on this. I want to know if the Girl Scout organization, because remember the Girl Scout organization is over 112 years old. They've been doing these cookies for over 7 years. So if the Girl Scouts did not know when they switched over their manufacturers and the people that make their Girl Scout cookies that the new manufacturers were doing this, are they still held liable? So let's go back to the first one, which I said the FDA allows trace amounts of heavy metal in foods because they occur naturally in soil and water.
Right.
So if these levels were within legal limits, is this really a lawsuit or is this a marketing nightmare or a PR nightmare for Girl Scouts?
I'm going to put it like Johnny Cochran would say, if the cookies are delicious, the lawsuit is suspicious. Okay? Here's the thing is, they're taking this, by the way, this comes from the amazing science, the very detailed and thorough science that's presented on the Joe Rogan show. All right. These are where these come from. This is one non-peer-reviewed study. So we got to take that a little bit of a grain of salt. All right. Now, with regard to the FDA is weird because what the FDA does, it says, hey, look, We are only interested in what's on the label of the product. And if you have too much of a certain thing, you need to tell people this product will kill you, right? Like cigarettes. But you can still sell the cigarettes. You just got to tell people that it's going to kill you. So the most trouble the Girl Scouts can get into is they need to put a label on, right? And basically change the name. So instead of truffles, we have a tinfoil, right? Or instead of Thin Mints, you call them Tin Mints. All right, they might have to change the labels, but you can still sell that shit, and we'll still buy it. All right, I got 3 or 4 boxes in my cabinet now, right? And
not 10 minutes.
Here's the thing about it: is it a money grab? I'm suspicious that it is. The lawyer who brought this is famous for doing this. Give me an example. He sued people for selling vanilla things that didn't have enough vanilla in it. He sued Starbucks in 2023 for the Arabica, basically saying it's not from Arabia, right? I mean, this is a guy who's always pulling nonsense. And by the way, in 2023, they actually sanctioned him, right? Gave him a fine, said, hey, don't come back here and this nonsense anymore. So this is a guy who makes a living, because here's the thing about it is, the lawsuit's for $5 million, which isn't a whole lot, right? That's like, what, 30 cents for every one of us who bought a cookie? But he would get 1.5 million, right? About 30% of it. So he'll bring these lawsuits all day long, hoping they'll settle. The Girl Scouts have got the 5 million. I know I gave them 4 myself. So they got the money. So this is a guy who's just trying to do this. There might be some legitimacy to it, but here's what I'm saying. As long as those cookies taste good, I don't care what they got in.
Right. Jason, what are your thoughts on the effect that it's going to have on the organization? And because this is their number one fundraiser. This is how they're able to exist for 112 years.
Yeah, and that this is where they make their money, and this is what they're known of. And they're not having these young ladies or these girls in the back baking these cookies. So it's the manufacturer of the Girl Scout cookies that should be on the hook. But look, when we were all kids, we were out there, we were eating dirt, and we were playing with worms, and we were doing things, and we were licking lead paint, and all of us turned out pretty okay. So I think it's good that, look, you want to fix it, but there's such low levels in there that, look, we build up an immunity. Everybody that's using all this hand sanitizer, everything, that you're going to touch something that's not clean and you're going to get sick. Live life, a little bit. It's I don't know. I think this is a stretch.
It's not a amount when you eat a whole box. I mean, they're addictive. Now, I haven't had the lead-laced Thin Mints.
Oh, they're good. They got this extra. They got this little extra something to it, and every time I travel now, I set off the thing at TSA when I'm going through. So it's great, and I got this twitch that I can't.
And we should be clear: no one is claiming that they got sick. No, they're simply saying that they're above the levels. It's too much. The woman who originally filed the suit, the lead plaintiff, she dropped out after a day or so. All right, because I assume because people were mad at her. So I'm not sure what's going to come of this case. Hopefully nothing. And if they do, just as long as they keep those butter cookies, I'm good. They can throw all the rest of that stuff.
Okay. And Busby's going to be the lead attorney soon. So.
You did ask about the relationship between the Girl Scouts and the manufacturer, because the little girls aren't baking the cookies. And so I would say this, it'll probably be borne out through the lawsuit, is what you would allege is that the Girl Scouts failed to do their due diligence with the manufacturer and try to pull them in. If the Girl Scouts were smart and they likely had good counsel, what they have in their contract with the manufacturer is an indemnification clause. Now, an indemnification clause is a mechanism by which, if you are required to pay because a judgment's found against you, you actually get reimbursed for those costs by whomever did the service. Yes. And so if they have that, then the Girl Scouts may come out like with not personally for the organization owing the amount of the judgment, because they likely have a indemnification clause. Now, the interesting thing about the indemnification clause, though, is it likely has language in it saying that the manufacturer agrees to comply with the law. And so then that goes back to Attorney Carter's point, which is these are trace amounts and they complied with the applicable regulations. And so if you Girl Scouts get sued because it's not consistent with your image as opposed to violates the standards, then the Girl Scouts might be more exposed than, yeah.
I got to tell you, Lori, something. I love how you guys' minds work. Because I just love how you just explained that. That's just so exciting to me. And I wonder, algoritmos, drop down in the chat if you love how our lawyers explain things, especially that fiery civil attorney as she starts to break things down. I always know it's going to be a good show when Shaitan is drinking something. Because she becomes very, very lively. But anyway, let's drop some of these comments real quick. Queen of Everything said, my daughter is a Girl Scout and she had a hard time selling this year. Was it because of the lead, Queen of Everything? Let me know. Lula Agosto said, wait, they're not homemade. No, they're not homemade. Draga said, child, what is that on Al's head? It's a bun, baby. We trying to get it down. Let me try to fix it back up.
What would you do? Gorilla glue it on?
No.
Are you like that girl?
Remember that girl? The Gorilla Glue?
You guys should have watched one of my videos. I had went to a barbershop and I was getting my hair cut, and the lady next to us was like, you know, have you ever had a bun? I was like, never had a bun. She put a bun on my head, right? And then she charged me $20. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even ask for it. But anyway, I went back to have the bun put up because I was going running. And so at the same barbershop, the lady put all these pins and she sewed it in. I didn't know what she was doing, but she actually sewed the bun. So I'd have to cut it out tonight. But anyway, that's what happened, Draga. Sorry that you don't like my bun. Lakeisha McGee, 31. I watch y'all faithfully, and this is my first time live. Welcome. Let's see who else with Danielle Cameron. The only thing we should sue the Girl Scouts for is praying on us at the grocery store. Oh God, that's so true. Lee Wild Coyote says Weiss is trying to put us in the hospital. Lead lace flavor. And the list. Okay, then Lee Wild Coyote says, Al, you have to go to the hood chick so she can sit with you for hours, cook you a meal, and you can chat with the kids. That's so true. Hair dramas, right? All right, let's keep it moving. Next up, Gene Hackman. Yep, you remember Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most legendary actors, has made a shocking move. He has cut his children out of his $80 million fortune. Fans are stunned and speculation is running wild. Did his kids do something wrong? Is the money going to charity, or is this just a classic Hollywood family drama? I'm going to throw to you, Jason, because I find this very suspicious that all of them in the household were found dead except for 2 dogs. What do you think is going on here? And can Hackman's kids legally challenge his will or his decision, or is his decision final?
So they can legally challenge it, right? That's not a problem, and that's not something that, you know, is going to have to be, determined. Can they legally challenge? The question becomes, do they legally have standing? Do they legally have rights? Is there something to challenge? If he changed it, let's say within days of the end of his life, and he was incoherent, then yes, they can go ahead and they can challenge it. But part of the problem that's going on here is that there was a clause in their in their final documents that basically said that if they died within 90 days of each other, which is in California what's considered.
Stop it!
What? I'm kidding.
Go ahead. I know what you're getting ready to say. I did. Go ahead.
If they die within 90 days of each other, which is considered a simultaneous death, all of the assets go to charity.
It's not exactly what it says. That's what it says in her will. That's not what it says in his will.
But his will says if he dies first, all of the assets go to her.
Exactly. But
so
who died first?
That's the question.
Oh, no, she died first. Remember, they're saying that her body was decomposed. So what does that mean?
So that would mean that
the kids may Shaitan.
She died first. So basically, it would follow his will, and his will basically said that it would all go to her. And if that's not the case, then I believe it's all supposed to go to charity.
Nope.
And that's where I think it's going to. No, I'm wrong.
Only her will. So her will says, if I die first, the money goes to, and Gene makes it a whole nother 90 days, right? He gets the money. If he doesn't make it another 90 days, which he didn't, then the money goes to charity. His will says all the money goes to her. And if she dies first, I don't even know, don't care.
Right.
He didn't have any provisions for that.
And that's why I think the kids have a valid
they're gonna get the money
to get it, because they're the next living heirs.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's going to be. So she dies first, so whatever it goes to her, that's off the table. Now his only living heirs are his children, and that's where it's going to go. And chances are the children are going to get it, because one of the sons already hired this.
I think this is going to be a Hollywood behind the scenes drama thing. I think the kids knew what this was. They off the mother, left the dad to oh Lord, I'm going to order my own stuff in court. All right, I'm just thinking like a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that this would happen.
I don't know. A week ago, I was on here saying
like
that.
The only way that the kids could be incorporated in this $80 million transfer of wealth would be offing the mother first,
stepmother,
reverting back to Gene, right? He was giving her the money, right?
She's dead.
He was giving the money to charity, but if she died first and then he died second, ding, 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 ding.
You got it.
Kids.
But see, I don't know. I mean, it takes a lot to murder somebody. I don't know if they're built for it.
It's Hollywood.
I got 80 million reasons why they did it.
I know some people who are, but here's what I think, right? I didn't know we were sipping wine tonight. I just have my dandelion tea, Your Honor. You should but here's what I suspect, and I'm surprised Attorney Weiss didn't say it. I suspect she died of natural causes, consequences of her illness, right? And then I think the kids just left him alone. So he didn't want to call nobody. Because Attorney Weiss had made the point before about his pacemaker. They didn't have to do much for him to die within 90 days of her, because she was taking care of him. So what they probably did is just not check on him. So I don't know that they offed her, but once he was there by himself in his compromised health state at his age, it was just a matter of time before he was going to drop dead over there.
Oh, so John, I feel so sorry for you. I feel you're so innocent.
Here's the thing:
all that makes sense except for the fact that he has a cell phone, he has a med alert, he had all these things,
and they didn't respond. That's what I'm saying. They just left him alone. They were the ones who would have been notified, and they just decided.
Gene Hackman. He can pick up the phone and call any of his friends if he was feeling like he was going to take. He was not feeling. He's not dumb. He's not incapacitated.
Yeah, he kind of was.
He had some compromised cognitive deficit towards the end.
Here's the thing is,
that.
I said it a week ago. I was like, yep, they killed him for the money. But here's why I don't think so. I think I was wrong here. One, all right, I'm not sure they knew what their daddy's will said. Because if I write my kids out of my will, my kids don't know what's in my will. They got no clue. It ain't none of their goddamn business. All right. You don't go around telling everybody I wrote you out of my will. All right. That makes Thanksgiving awkward as hell. All right. So chances are excellent they didn't know. And if they did know, then guess what? I think then they should have killed him. If you, my daddy, you got $80 million and you don't leave me a damn dime, you got to go. All right, you damn you, daddy. How you gonna think about it?
Guys, lawyers, put your lawyer hats back on. The dog is dead. The dog is dead in a closet. Come on now.
We don't know how we don't know how the dog died.
There's no forced entry.
The dog might have starved to death.
Okay, I see why you're lawyers. You guys would be horrible homicide cops. You would be horrible detectives. You're not thinking of everything that's going on. It's just not adding up. The only thing that's adding up is that $80 million that was originally going to go to charity.
How would they know? How would they know that?
Because let me tell you something. It's Hollywood. These people, these kids know these things. They especially when their dad is as successful as that and is of age, they know where that money's going, and they know that it was going to that young mother right there, that stepmother. They knew she was getting that money. She was only 60 something.
I know, but Jason, do your kids know what's in your will?
I don't even know if I know what's in my will. I'm dead. I don't give a shit.
First of all, Sean Carter, no, I'm not not counting your coins, but I would assume your will isn't $80 million because
no, it's not.
Your kids, their dad has not been on television for 60 years.
Right.
Okay. So it's just a whole different conversation. It's a whole different conversation.
That's why you don't have that conversation. Would you really have a conversation with kids and say, I'm not giving you nothing?
Absolutely, you will. Because first of all, it's $80 million is a transfer of wealth. They need to know if they got to have money to pay for the taxes of the transfer of the wealth. I'm sure at a very, let me tell you something. Okay, hold on, guys. When I was a private banker, I worked with the ultra high net worth. We used to have extensive conversations with the family about the asset size. You have that conversation, and the earlier you have the conversation, the better, because you're preparing them for what's going to happen. That type of conversation from that type of a successful man with that type of assets, you definitely have to have the conversation with the kids. And the conversation becomes accelerated and more intense when their health becomes compromised. Because there are so many things that has to happen, whether the money goes to the kids or not. Things have to happen with the property. Things have to happen with the charity that it's going to.
Well, so let me ask you this. How do you think that they pulled off this murder with her dying from with the rotavirus thing? And did they give him dementia too? Did they give him Alzheimer's?
Oh, no, I'm not. I was just talking. I'm just talking junk. I'm just saying we have seen stuff like this in Hollywood before. So I don't know. I just made that up. But
Fair enough.
Saying, those kids definitely
to die. That's what
those kids definitely understood where and when the transfer of that wealth would happen. That was a conversation that the lawyers have been having for quite some time.
Which is why it was really bad planning. I don't know where he got his lawyer from, J.C. Penney's, because you don't have a will that doesn't have a contingent beneficiary that says, I want this person to have the money, but I don't want that person next, and that person next, and that person next. What if you got in a plane crash together, a car crash, right? By the way, I found something interesting in doing the research here. You realize that we're trying to figure out the order of death here because it matters. If she died first, right, it's a whole different deal. But here's the thing about it is most states have a law that says if you as a couple die within 5 days of each other, we're just going to consider it even. We're just going to let it go and you both die at the same time because we know how complicated this is. And we don't want to have a situation where you die a day later, the money goes to you, you get to pay estate taxes, then the money goes to the next person, they got to pay estate taxes. So generally speaking, we have a provision for this that simply says if you die within a certain period of time with each other, but it matters. And that's and by the way, in New Mexico, the difference is 5 days. And this is exactly 5 days. So it does matter. And it's kind of going to be interesting to see how that works out.
I want to go to Jason because I mention this all the time. Jason and I met because I called on the founding partner of his law firm because he managed super wealthy people. That's how Jason and I met. I had to develop a relationship with him so that he would funnel me clients. Jason, didn't your law firm, I remember this, you guys had an entire estate planning department of lawyers that handled this type of stuff on a regular basis. What are your thoughts on this?
Look, he did not have a good relationship with his kids from everything that I'm reading. They wasn't in their lives, they weren't in his lives. So it doesn't shock me that he left everything to the love of his life at the time, which was his wife, and that he didn't even think about dying first.
Right.
That he never thought that he assumed I'm older than her by almost 30 years. I'm going to die first. Was that right? No. But that's what he thought. And sometimes the lawyers, we tell them whatever we think is right, but at the end of the day, he made that decision. Now, look, maybe the kids lucked out by, her passing away first. And that's why the cause of death for her and the timing is so important, because now these, I think 3 or 4 kids, they're each getting millions and millions and millions of dollars. Now, the one question I don't know the answer to, does she have kids independent of him?
Nope.
Okay. So then she doesn't have any heirs, and those kids can't fight it. So it's going to be Hackman's kids are going to get everything.
I promise you. This is what was in that will. Her will said that it's going to the dog.
No.
What's the dog off to? I'm telling you, Hollywood has crazy shit like this all the time. They leave money to the dog.
100%.
They leave money to the gardener. They leave money to the pool boy. They leave money to the maid. Anybody except for those nasty ass kids they got.
Well, the pool boy oftentimes has earned a place in the will. But for the algoriters, the magic phrase is residuary clause. So that's what Attorney Carter and Attorney Rice was referencing, is that the residuary clause in a will is the catch-all clause that compensates for if the people you chose are not available or they're dead, then the residuary clause specifies what's supposed to happen to your assets in the event of your death. And it says, give the rest to whomever, the YMCA, the Girl Scouts. People might want to start leaving money to the Girl Scouts now because it sounds like they need it. But in this case, the fact that his will was silent for his children, I think is noteworthy, right? And so to Attorney Weiss's point, he assumed his wife was going to live, but he wanted her to know that she was his true love. And if she wasn't there, he was like, F it.
You know, you're right.
Christine, wait, hold on. Christine said them pool boys got that good deed.
I know. That's what I heard. I don't have a pool, but I'm getting one.
Just another YouTube channel says, yes, the pool boy deserves it all.
And fair enough. I got to fire my pool boy. But the point, though, is that here's what I don't get, though. All right. I get he didn't say, on the other hand, he could have done this. He could have written in the will, I don't care what happens to my money, but make sure those badass kids don't get it, which he didn't do. And he could have done that. Now, once again, his lawyer doesn't seem like he helped him with any options. All right, he didn't do the first thing to him, but he did not say they couldn't get any money, because he could have done that, and the money would have gone elsewhere to third cousins and whatever. So apparently, he liked the kids a little bit. I got to tell you though, people saying they didn't check in on him. If you write me out of an $80 million will, I ain't calling you. All right, damn your birthday, mama.
I can't imagine, but see, this is the thing about that pacemaker thing. If it alarmed the kids, I can't imagine that it wouldn't automatically, if the kids didn't answer, alarm 911. That's what I thought about that. Maybe I promise you, the fact that dog was dead in the closet is not by happenstance, guys. Listen to me. And the fact that she died first and he died second, this is gonna get better. But speaking of dying, let's keep it going. Whew, speaking of dying, I wish. By
the way, this on the dog. I just looked this up. A dog can only go 3 to 5 days without food and water. That dog was in the closet for 10 days. He wasn't gonna make it.
No, the dog could clearly go find something to chew on, like maybe his.
He was in a cage, and he was in a cage in the closet. He couldn't go nowhere.
Why would a dog be in a cage in a closet, Attorney Carter?
You ever had a dog?
Thought she was gonna go out.
I don't put him in the closet.
I got my dog in the trunk of my car right now. No, but let me give you an example. We had someone come over.
No, Attorney Carter, you got to clarify that for anybody.
I did. He left the windows open. He left the windows open. All the PETA people, don't worry. He left the windows.
Exactly.
No. But we let the electrician over today. We put the dog away. Right, we put him in the bathroom, lock the bathroom door. Right, and so if you put your company, you put the dog away. You don't want him tearing. Think about it. Her closet ain't like yours and mine. She got some nice stuff in there. All right, you ain't gonna have a dog just run around in all of your Versace.
We're gonna
put him in the car. You put him in the kennel.
Really quickly. JP Mills says, Al, how you know the kid's got a notification? Because he had a pacemaker, and the pacemaker was set up that if anything happened to him, it would alert the kids. Just so you guys know. Okay, let's keep it moving. And speaking of being alert, I'm so tired of this divorce. Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert were once the definition of Black love, but their divorce battle is getting uglier by the day. Teyana has just filed a legal petition claiming Iman violated their divorce agreement, and now he could face contempt charges. So what went wrong? And will this divorce battle take even a nastier turn? I'm gonna go to you, attorney. Oh gosh, not the hate all men who's divorced. I'm gonna go to you, attorney Turner. I'm gonna go to you, attorney Turner. This is my question. First off, what does it mean to be held in contempt during a divorce case? And the second thing is why is she still talking about this? Why is she still talking about
but didn't get mad
her divorce? All right, bailiff, let's see what you got right here.
When a minority of men that will stand up no matter what y'all going through, that will stand up for the mother of their children, that will stand up for somebody that they once loved, that will protect his family no matter what. There's still men out there that is willing to protect their family no matter what. When I came to Iman and told him that I didn't feel safe, nothing else should have mattered. Why are we even on this phone arguing? I'm coming to you saying, yo, baby daddy, I don't feel safe. Like niggas talking about they gonna off me if I boom, boom, boom. I'm telling you, I don't feel safe. Well, back in 2023, when I did,
Let's see the other.
Tell me, attorney Turner. Tell me, attorney Turner, please. What am I missing? What am I missing? I'm just not understanding. If she wants this to go away, then stop talking about it. I mean, that's the answer. And
let's see the other clip. Let's see the other clip.
She's not new to this.
I walked away with all my properties. Iman walked away with a car that I bought him. That's clear. But let's also, we're not going to sit here and make it seem like Teyana's using Iman for anything. Like at the end of the day, yes, Iman made his money and so did I. I've been in this business since I was 15 years old. We're not going to act like my bank account is like, nah, we're not doing that. I've had several Jordans. I've had several movies, several deals, all still active. And the crazy part about it is I said nothing when him and his lawyer told the internet, oh, Teyana's making more money. Teyana's bringing more money a month in than Iman is. Just because Iman played ball don't mean that this is a thing where it's like I'm trying to take money off of him. Iman haven't played ball since 2020.
So he invested it.
I'm just saying, I'm all right, attorney Turner, tell me, please. What's contempt?
She's likely speaking out for pride, and she's forgotten about the principle. Because you're right. If she was thinking clearly, she likely would be quiet and just let this play out in court. She already has a pending motion. But here's the thing, as somebody who's going through this, emotions run high, and you feel this intense need to clarify things for your fans and or for others. And so despite your better judgment, you go on and you start talking about stuff because you want to clarify. In truth, people are just having popcorn and drinking tea and trying to figure out what she's going to say, but they're just there for the drama of it. They don't really care what the truth is. So as you asked about contempt. So contempt in a divorce proceeding is the same as contempt in any legal proceeding, which is somebody defied the judge's instruction and therefore they're being they would have the potential to be held in contempt. And what being held in contempt means is that you did a bad thing. And so then it's a question of what your penalty is going to be.
Didn't I go through that, Jason?
That he released information that was supposed to be sealed. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I asked Jason, I said, Jason, didn't I go through that? Jason
no
was
comment.
Jason was my lawyer at the time. I think I went through something like that.
Yeah. We're just gonna keep that. But look,
Under
I mean, under seal. There you go. But look, the judge tells you what you got to do. You don't listen. You're held in contempt. That's it. Any court, anywhere, whatever it is. And look, I've had hearings where the judge has said to somebody, if you don't do something specific, the next time you show up in this courtroom, bring your toothbrush because you're spending the night. And I'm like, damn, and judges have that authority.
Yeah, but you know what's so interesting to me, though, in this particular case is I am going to chuck this up as her emotions are running high, right? And I don't understand why her emotions are running high. She has a new man who's highly successful, who is killing the game in acting, who you've been away from Iman. It's been 2.5 years.
Yeah,
it's been 2.5 years.
The emotions
so
are still
if he hired a blog to do something, let it plplay out in the courts. Like what?
She has unresolved emotions. That's what that was about. When you go to social media,
I just want to know what is she getting out of bringing this?
Well, I'll tell you.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna go to you, Attorney Carter, in 1 second. This is all I'm trying to
get my backbone out in peace. All right, bye.
All right, this is all I'm saying. Hold on, bailiff. Many divorce disputes involve claims, right? To gain a court to gain advantage in court. This feels like to me, because she is claiming him to be in contempt of court, that she's going to social media to help her with her judgment instead of right. You don't think so?
No,
I don't. She's going to social media because she thinks he's a dirtbag and she wants people to know. So that's why
sure
I don't think it's that. I just don't buy that.
I don't think it's even that. Think about it. She got that man on her own now. All right. And three of the men on this panel, he can get it. All right. That's a good-looking man. She ain't worried about Iman's ugly head. Here's the thing is, Iman, remember, the divorce was sealed. It's usually a public record. It was sealed. No one's supposed to know who got whose money. He went out there and told the world that she took all of his money.
No.
Yes, she did. She said
he went to a blog. He went to a blog.
Right, but he went out to social media, what he wasn't supposed to do.
He told the world.
He told the world.
The blog.
Right, the internet. He told the internet, right, that she took all of his money. Now you got Ashley brothers all up in her DMs calling her a gold digger and this, that, and the other. That man should do this and this and this to you.
That's not the first time people's been in that woman's.
No, I understand that. I've been in there many times. All right, I ain't gonna lie. All right, I'm all up in the DMs. I'm being there tonight too, girl. But the point is this, all right, is that she basically says, look, I want to clear the air. I didn't get all that man's money. All right, I got 4 houses, but guess what? He got 3. All right, the Maybach I bought. She's basically clarifying her point and saying, hey, I actually did contribute to this. I've been making all my own money. All right. Don't come and tell me that I'm a gold digger when I made my own money. Listen, I don't get why that's a bad thing for her to say.
I don't think.
Well, she also feels unsafe.
No.
So here's the thing I would say is that she's trying to shame him into better behavior because she used terms that people tend to use when they're trying to do that, right? She says, I'm the mother of your children, right? Which means we had sex. We procreated. I pushed them out, however she delivered. And because of that, I should be entitled to a modicum of respect. And she came to him and said, I feel unsafe because of X, Y, and Z. And he didn't heed it. So that's why I said the part about making him look like a dirtbag is part of it, because she wants him to put a stop to this. So people are coming for him as coming for her as Attorney Carter indicated, and she thinks he has the power to end it by setting the record straight. So she's trying to
I hear you, Attorney Turner, but she's mixing apples and oranges then, right? So because he's not protecting her, she's going to take him to court. And
here's the thing, and the court was kind of rough because what she said was
confused about her actions. It doesn't correlate with what she's saying.
Really?
Her lawyer did not advise me.
She's saying you weren't supposed to put all our business out the street. You certainly weren't supposed to give a distorted picture of it. And because you did, I want you to go to jail for 20 days. Now that's a little rough. I have to admit though.
Okay, come on, Carter. That's crazy. First of all, You're getting a
And someone said,
divorce.
how much did you spend?
You're getting a divorce. You're getting a divorce. This is the thing that you got to understand. What he tells the blog and how the blog puts it out there, I promise you, are not the same thing. They made it probably way more salacious than he presented it to them. That's just a fact. That's just no. It's just a fact because a blog has to get clicks. They have to get likes. They have to get follows. I promise you, what he shared with them was probably an off-the-record conversation and some other stuff. And the blog took it, put 20 on it, and made it something way worse. Now, has it affected her life? Absolutely. I totally get that. But if you want this to go away and you focusing on your new relationship, you let the courts handle that and you don't go to social media. Period.
Here's how the court handle that. The judge is going to decide whether he go to jail or not. But think about it. Imagine this. Imagine if for instance, my wife divorced me, and after this show, probably likely, all right? And we
is she going to start wearing or stop wearing slips? I just want to make sure.
Leave the woman alone. She wearing
wear them, correct?
The point is this: is that if she were to run around and tell the world, go post on Facebook tomorrow. This is a blog, right? Sean didn't pay me no child support. He didn't give me no money, and I'm paying for the schools and whatever. You damn right I'm gonna be on social media going. You that's a damn lie. You ain't gonna let somebody just besmirch you and call you a gold digger and say you done stole all their money when you actually made half the money. You're gonna want to say
you're missing. Hold on. We're wasting too much time. You're missing my point here.
What's your point?
You're missing my point. I'm not arguing that. All I'm saying is that did he do something sneaky and undercover? Abso-freaking-lutely. Was it to the extent that maybe the blog put it out? Absolutely not. Because he knows the judgment. He knows the fine. It's in their divorce decree that if he says X, Y, and Z, he's going to have to pay.
But he still said something?
Say anything. That's the whole thing. The blog may have made it more salacious, but he was supposed to FTU.
Absolutely. Right? I totally get it. I totally get it. And like you said, she scorned, he scorned, and he thought that he was maneuvering away. He was maneuvering away around it, where he was having a conversation, and he said you could probably take it and do what you want with it, but it didn't come from me. I'm telling you that that's probably how this went down. But anyway,
that's what he says.
Hold on, let's keep it moving because we're spending way too much time.
Oh, he's not nearly as good looking as her new man.
That's what he meant. That's why he mad.
She leveled up.
Old lady hustler said Al is scorned. No, what should I be? I'm not scorned. What am I scorned about? JP Mills says the divorce was sealed, Al, with a gag order. Absolutely, most of them are. Remember, she even shared that it was filed anonymous versus anonymous, which was something that was also similar to my case.
Yep.
And so if someone finds it out, it's not because it was supposed to be found out. This stuff happens all the time. All right, let's keep going. Tracy Valentine, welcome to the show. Al, stop talking over your guest lawyers. You have to listen more to the attorneys that have spent years studying the law. No, I don't. It's my show. And this is the public opinion, boo. Boo. You listen to them. This is my show. Listen. Order in my court, Miss Tracy Valentine. Let's take it from there. I finally called live. You finally called live. Thanks, Ace Espar. We love you for joining us. Death God said he crossed the line out. I think he did. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm definitely not saying he didn't cross the line. Black Sunshine said, Al, stop it. Brenda O said, Judge Al, I'm putting you in contempt. He's the one running his mouth. Yeah, he's the one that's trying to figure out a way to get even with his wife. I do. I'm just calling it for what it is. All right, let's keep it moving because we've spent a lot of time on that. I just want it over. I want it over. And let's just put this out here right now. If you want something over, you don't talk about it.
Fair enough.
Period. And you don't take it to social media as a celebrity who has millions and millions of followers. And secondly, it's disrespectful to your current man to be constantly on social media talking about your old boo that you've been out of a relationship over 3 years with.
Well, your ex-husband. Yeah, but it's
All right,
they
next
say it's
up.
hard out there for a pimp. It's hard out there for an ex-wife.
It is. It is. Next up, Marcelus Wiley. Oh my goodness. Former NFL star and TV analyst is in serious trouble. 2 more assault allegations have surfaced from his time at Columbia University, adding to a growing list of claims against him. Wiley says these accusations are completely false, but will the court and the public believe him? Bailiff, show us what you got.
I was invited. This is her statement. I'm invited over at 3 a.m. I spend the night to 10:15. This is her statement in 94. Marcellus left the room not knowing he did anything to me because didn't do anything to her. The people still like suspicious, right? Oh, no, I don't know Marcellus. This is her statement. He comes, I invite him back over, and he comes back over a couple weeks later. So Columbia hears this whole thing in depth, not way more than that. But basically, in a secure dorm at 3 a.m, paper thin walls, with no complaint ever from anybody, you let someone spend the night that you said assaulted you? And in our school, you got to sign in, sign out, security right there. You don't get your ID back until the person gives you permission. But and then, okay, we hear you. We can hear you. He's over there 7-8 hours, and he did what?
So you have to keep spending lawyer money on this.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, she made her claims, and then it's mediation. We'll see. And look, I'm with Columbia, so like it's a lot of money because Columbia's involved.
Right, but you need your own lawyer, though.
Oh,
right?
I do. I got
that's what I'm saying.
I got Diddy's lawyer.
There's the Columbia.
Okay, so this is gonna be I can't wait to have this conversation. And I want to have a real conversation about this, Attorney Carter, before I throw this to you, because I want you to talk to me about how do old accusations affect a case when they resurface years later. All right, that's number one. The second thing that I want to talk about is with him, there's no physical evidence in any of the cases that are against him, meaning no one took a rape kit. No one went to talk to their RA. No one went to talk to a confidant, a priest, or anything. So at what point does pursuing cases with no forensic proof, no sharing the story with anyone become more about reputation destruction than actual justice?
Well, and here's the thing is, and you're right, that's really concerned. That's why for most of our history as a law, these claims can only be brought within a very short period of time after they happen, 2-3 years, because you wanted to make sure that people were still around. So if this happened in a dorm, there are other people in the dorm, you want them to still be students there. This is 30 years ago. Nobody remembers this. This is a little different, though. Remember, she's not just suing him. She's suing Columbia University because she says, I went to the dean.
Supervision.
No, I went to the dean. I told him this happened. He said, you don't want to ruin his life. He about to go to the NFL. Just let it go. And so they're saying that this is a little different because normally you're right. Normally nobody comes forward, but this is a case where 2 women went to talk to the dean about the same student saying this happened to me. And in both cases, they either said the stories are inconsistent or they said, we don't want to, we can win the Ivy League. Let's deal with this in off season. And that's going to be a problem for Columbia. It's one thing, like I said, if it was years and years ago, who knew? But they had, and these were 2 allegations within a month, October of 1994 and November of 94. That should have raised a red flag. Okay. I totally understand that, people, will make up stuff, especially now you can make money out of it. But this is 30 years ago before this was a thing. She brought it up, and Columbia, for some reason, decided that they didn't believe the women, or like I said, because I can't imagine they wanted to win the Ivy League crown that much. All right? It's not that much of a thing.
This is a conversation that I want to make sure. I want to make sure, because I know this is a sensitive conversation, that if he in fact did something illegal, that I need for him to be charged and to serve his time. Okay. Now, I said that here. I want everybody to know that. First of all, I want to say, Sonny Clark, thank you so much for the super chat. Bailiff, if you don't mind putting that up on the main screen. Al will argue with the Rock. Love this show. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Now I want to take a second right here. Now, when I was in graduate school at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, I was a area director of what was called E-House. It was a dormitory, it was a high rise, 20 plus floors, and we housed all the athletes that at the time we housed the football players, the baseball players, etc. So you can imagine, and regular students as well, you can imagine what went down in that dorm that I was over. Okay, so I have dealt with multiple accusations in this space, and it's always very, very interesting to me that it's usually with a star player of some sorts that does a late night call, if you will, that started out consensual, that even in the consensual act of what they were doing, it got aggressive, and they didn't sign up for all that went down for the time period that it went down. These are my personal experiences that I had in the 2 years that I was an area director of this facility. All right. So the question becomes, in my mind, that I don't know how we're going to do it, but you have to tell guys, and this is a conversation that I have over and over and over and over again when I used to have to speak to the football team. I don't care. You could be in the middle of sex. When she says, no, it's hurting or I'm done, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
You've got to stop.
100%.
And in the guy's mind, I get the logic. She said yes to it. This is a part of how I do it. But when I'm being honest, I'm having an honest conversation. But when she's overwhelmed, or when it goes to a point where, it's more than she signed up for, he's got to stop.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And
so where what's the intersection here? And is the law the best way to handle this? Where does that conversation start and how does it end?
It should be starting with our roles as parents, right? We should be telling these young men and women that when she says stop, you stop. And we tell her that when you want it to stop, you tell it stop. That's where it needs to start. And it can't be lost along the way. Look, I was a resident assistant at the University of Florida for 2 years. So I got to deal with a lot of these things too. And I went and spoke at various different professional symposiums. And that's where you and I went together and we talked about these things. There's got to be a time when it's stop. But I think the whole point here is that the university covered this up. And that it should have been opened up and it should have been an investigation and there should have been a file. Shoulda. It was handled wrong. And that's what this whole thing is about. She's going to have a lot of trouble proving it because it's a lot later. People lose memory. People, they side with who they want. So look, this is an unfortunate situation and it sucks for everybody.
I want to hear from the lady on the panel because let me share this one detail. The detail that he shared in his documents, in his court documents, is that in the beginning it was okay, right? And I guess it was starting to hurt her, and she was like, "Oh, it hurts. Stop." And he was like, "No, just relax. It's gonna feel okay." Da 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 da. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that this is fraught with opportunity for improvement on the part of the university and on him. Because one, I was very disappointed in his interview because it lacked compassion. He didn't say, I think this is a misunderstanding, and I deeply regret that she has this PTSD from years ago. You know,
Mhm.
I never would have intended to sexually assault anyone, right? That's a different thing. But he's laughing, he's telling some stuff. I mean, there are two words for this: Me Too, right? The Me
Right.
Too movement is all about this. And here's what I think. I actually disagree a little bit with you, Attorney Weiss, about emphasizing boys being instructed to respond to no. Like, I think that that's something that we should do. But what I've been telling people is you shouldn't have sex with anybody unless it's an enthusiastic yes on her part, because people are around there trying to piece consent together. And what you should know is if she's not feeling you and excited about it, then you should stop. Silence is not consent under these circumstances. And as people have been saying in the chat, right? It's not as easy to come forward as you might think. And it also isn't necessarily intuitive to scream, even if you're in a dorm.
I get
If
that.
there's
I
a
get
big-
that.
Yeah. So, like, I think it goes way underreported. So, for the algoriters, the men, and for those who are raising sons, encourage them to have sex with people who are enthusiastically yes, like they're all about it.
Okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate just for a second. Not meaning I'm supporting him. Geez whiz, people, we're just having conversation. If you are accepting a man in your room at 3 a.m. and he's
Everybody's
showing
done
up,
that.
I'm just saying you're accepting him into your room at 3 a.m. He's showing up, football player, basketball shorts on, no underwear. Y'all frolic around.
He doesn't have underwear on until you're like investigating.
Just oh my God. All I'm saying is you frolic with him for 7 hours. Okay, Attorney Turner.
Yeah.
Frolic with him for 7 hours. You invite him back for additional hours of frolic.
Yes. I can totally appreciate this story. I don't know what the truth is here, but I have a story from my own life that I will reveal to the alligators, and it did not result in me getting sexually assaulted, much to the surprise of my friends. So you knew me in college, and what you know is that I was super friendly. I liked to talk, and I probably was a little sheltered from where I grew up. So I was on Rugby Road at a fraternity house. And I was there. Yeah, I was there on Halloween with some friends of mine. One of them, you know, Al. A couple of them were my dorm mates, and we went to this particular house because I was like the
free drinks.
Yeah, and I was the queen of finding like the one black guy that belonged to a white fraternity. I don't know how, but I had a thing for it. So there was this guy who belonged to this fraternity, and I liked him. And I was young, so he's lucky he didn't assault me because I was 17 and he was a super senior, right? So he was like 22. But anyway, there's this big party going on. I go downstairs to his room, which was the equivalent of the basement. Yes. And we were frolicking for a while. And we were making out, and I think I had a shirt on because one of my friends.
You are underage, young lady.
Yes, he was like, oh, you took one button? Like, how's that happening? Because everybody thought there's more to the story. But fortunately, I was not assaulted, but he easily could have done it and nobody would have heard because there was a big party above. And it was one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life from a personal safety perspective. But I didn't go down there because I was trying to screw him. I went down there because I was naive. So the fact that these stories happened to college girls, it doesn't surprise me that the scenario that he described is as he describes it. And so that's why, as I'm raising my boys, the reason I'm focusing on enthusiastic yes is because if you're not positive that she wants it, don't convince yourself that she wants it. The stakes are too high.
I want
I
to.
think that sounds great, but you don't have a penis.
No, I want to echo what Attorney Turner says. I'll substitute the penis for. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the problem: is Marcellus said at the very beginning there. He says she called me over at 3 a.m. And as a man, what you think is, well, if you call me over at 3 a.m., you know what's up. Right. Men always think that because we would not go out. I'm not leaving my house at 3 a.m. All right, if I didn't think that was up. But here's the thing.
Absolutely not.
But women don't think that way.
She's not calling him over to change
but women don't think that way. Women don't think Women don't think that way. I understand you think that way, but women don't always think that way. Tell me in the chat, ladies, am I right? Some women think, hey, we could just talk all night. We could cuddle. You've heard that. John said it.
We can make out and cuddle.
Thank you.
That's what I was thinking in college.
Nope.
I was all the time going to people's dorm rooms.
I know you don't think that way, but women do.
Understand that, but when that big black man gets there and he's trying to put something in you, you put him out. You don't entertain him for 7 straight hours.
How about this?
With him. Nope. And you
as men, how about we just control our thing and say, hey, it doesn't mean she wants to. The other thing that the Attorney Turner said was brilliant there, and this, by the way, is a sex tip. If there are any guys out there, you want to get a woman really hot, ask her every step. Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do that? The talk, the anticipation. Look at the chat. I'm gonna have nothing but slug mechanics in the chat. All right, talk to the woman. So it's not just for their benefit; it's for your benefit to be able to go ahead and do that.
You guys are thinking like old ass lawyers, nerds. No, that's not how it happens when you are a
baby. I'm asking my wife. Get in the chat now and tell her.
Listen, I totally understand what you're saying. But we're talking about a 19-year-old boy who is a star football player whose hormones are raging. We're talking about a young lady who's inviting him over to crochet at 3 a.m.
She might have been thinking crochet.
She wanted to make out. She might not have wanted to F. That's really the truth. And that's what men need to understand is that there is a difference. And the other thing is, if algoritmers want to know this, because you can see it all up in the chat, ask the women you know in your life, your friends, how many sexual experience they've had that they regretted, right? What Attorney Carter's talking about is hot, right? You're getting consent along the way, and you're like, you know what? I hadn't thought about wanting to do that, but now that you asked me, I want to. That is the surefire way to make sure everybody's having a good time.
Absolutely. I think that getting consent along the way makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to tell you, at 18 years old, my brain didn't listen to my penis. It wanted what it wanted. It manipulated what it manipulated. And I thought I was smart and I thought I understood what was going on. But the reality is I didn't ask all along the way. Sometimes I just went off of touch or noise or invitations. That was
and you might be getting a call in 2028 about it. I'm simply saying you're right. Young men think this way. I thought I'm not gonna say I didn't think that way either. But I'm telling you, we know the cost now.
All right, you're right. Okay, everybody, what an interesting night we're having tonight with these stories. Please hit that like button for us. Only got 78 likes. We need to get those likes up. We have double that in watching us tonight. Please hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you already subscribed. Hit the share button. Invite some friends over to hear us talk about sex and consent. Also, don't forget to turn on your notifications. And last but not least, continue with the comments. We love to see them. Last but not least on the docket, DeMario Jackson, poor thing, former Bachelorette contestant, just lost $1 million lawsuit for sexual assault because he didn't even show up to court. But it wasn't like he didn't want to. It was because he didn't have the money. Now he's legally required to pay up. But can he even afford it? And will this scandal end his reality TV career for good? I'm going to go to you, Jason, on this. What happens? And this is so... I really, 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 really want the courts to think about this. What happens when someone doesn't fight a lawsuit because they can't afford it?
I don't know how you can't afford to show up in court and how you can't afford to fight it. He is sued in his individual capacity. There is nothing stopping this gentleman from going to court and to telling the court that I am here so that he doesn't get a default judgment. I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm not saying anything like that. But at the end of the day, if he has no money, he can still show up. So it's not a default judgment.
Right.
And
So
I know I deal with cases all the time with pro se litigants. That's what it's called.
Mhm.
And they are as difficult, if not more difficult, than the attorneys because they do what they want, they say what they want, and they don't have to follow rules. So pro se is, hey, at least I'm showing up and getting a defense.
Got it. But no, I think in this particular case, and I'm just sharing some details, I think in this particular case, she was trying to wrap him up with all this legal back and forth. And he checked out. He was like, listen, I can't afford it. So what are the options, Attorney Carter or Turner? What are the options if you feel like you're being a part of what, happens a lot of time in the legal system where they're wearing you down? They're creating bills for you to not be able to afford it. And what are your choices? Like, what do you do?
Here's the thing is, and I understand this happens a lot, by the way. You get a bill collector. You owe $1,800 from the last apartment or whatever it is, a phone bill or whatever. In that case, you might not fight it. You might just let them do the default judgment because you owe the money and it's not a lot. But if it's a case like here where, remember, the verdict came out to be $1 million. He doesn't have $1 million. You got to fight that. Even if it's like Attorney White says, you go into court and you become the worst lawyer in the world. It's better than no lawyer. And because part of the thing is, you'll see, we had a case last week where who else got the default judgment against them? The football.
Everybody last week was getting default judgment.
Yeah.
3 cases in a row.
Right.
I mean, so a default judgment is terrible.
Right.
Just go lose. You're better off losing because you're going to get something better than just not showing up.
Yeah, the judge almost has an attitude because basically you're saying to the court, you're not the boss of me. I don't care what you do. Right. And so they're going to really not care about your future.
All right. So what's the recommendation? Just go regardless.
Show up. So look.
So does he have any options now that he has got a default judgment? Is he able to go back and
he can get it set aside. He can do whatever, but he probably won't meet the standards, and it probably won't get set aside. And that's it. He's probably stuck for a little while with this. He can file bankruptcy.
Christine R has a good point here. She says, "So you're saying go and lose?
Yeah, 100%.
So if you lose, aren't you going to owe it anyway?"
Yeah, but at least you have a chance to knock it down because when it's a default judgment and no one's there, they say, "I want $1 million." Okay, anybody object? Okay, here's your $1 million. But if you go in and you get it reduced, okay, now it's $250,000. And someone just put in the question, do you get a public defender? Not in civil. In criminal, yes. In civil, no. But there's such things as legal aid society. There's such things as pro bono attorneys. There's such things as legal aid. There's clinics that law school students want to get experience. So you have various different things available to you if he's as broke as he says.
And at a minimum, Your Honor, and for the algorators, if for some reason he feels broke is a joke, but he doesn't meet the income requirements for those options that Attorney Weiss said, most local bar associations will give you 30 minutes of free legal advice that's donated from a lawyer. So at a minimum, call, get the 30 minutes, and they can direct you to the courthouse and say, throw yourself on the mercy of the court. The last thing that you want is to just not be there. The other thing is that courts tend to be somewhat helpful for pro se litigants, right? So you show up, you're like, I can't afford a lawyer. I came here. I don't know the rules. They'll at least walk you through the rules a bit so that you can present a defense. Would you be better represented by a lawyer?
You guys, this sounds good, but I don't think it happens like that all the time.
But it could. That's the thing.
The reason why I say this is because when I was very young, I was like, I'm about to do the legal aid thing. The legal aid people treat you like trash.
They really don't.
250 cases. They tell you to go to the National Association of the Black Bar. And you go and you try. You like, okay, I got so many resources. It really is. It's really not that. it's really not that simple. I gotta be honest with you. It's
Well,
not
but
that simple.
Your Honor, you were doing it before Google, right? So in
Yes.
the age of Google, algoritmors take
You
yourself
can find
online
somebody.
and
Yeah, you
say,
can find.
well, not even just finding a lawyer. You could at least find the basic rules of like where you show up, what you say. There, if you
Right.
go on now and
Right.
Google, what do you do if you're sued and can't afford a lawyer? There is somebody who wrote about it, and they can give you some
That's
tips.
true. Or somebody
And
blogging about it.
ChatGPT,
Go on.
ChatGPT, I'm being sued in New York for blah blah blah. What are my defenses?
Well, that just came along recently, Jason. I'm talking 30 years ago.
Oh, come on. 30 years ago, you were in
In that
diapers.
legal aid office. They treat and that legal aid. The lawyer looked like she barely got out of law school. She looked a hot mess. She didn't even know the law. Anyway, I'm just saying. Anyway, all right, everybody. This is the time of the show where we go back and we find whether they're guilty or not guilty for the charges being presented. First up, are the Girl Scouts guilty or not guilty of poisoning all of their lovely purchasers, all their lovely people who buy their cookies? Attorney Carter, what say you?
They are not guilty. I'm using the 5-second rule. It was in the dirt, and they left a little dirt on it. But you know what? That's why Attorney White says we got good immune systems.
Attorney Turner.
I'm going to say not guilty for my Girl Scouts. I had my vest. I had my badges. My love runs deep. Good luck, ladies.
Attorney Weiss.
Not guilty, except for putting the extra pounds on me.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court, and I'm going to find the Girl Scouts not guilty. Not guilty. There's no way for 107 years they have not had a problem with their cookies until now. Somebody is doing a woohoo-wah. All right, next up, Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, are the kids guilty or not guilty? No, I'm just are the kids guilty or not guilty? Knocking their dad off. No, I'm kidding. What is there to show here? It's really nothing to be guilty or not guilty about here, right?
Gene Hackman's lawyer is guilty.
Is Gene Hackman's lawyer guilty of not?
Yeah, that's the he must have got that will off of that page on the Google.
We're going to find Gene Hackman's lawyer guilty of not protecting the interests of his client, who I'm sure was a main client. All right, is Teyana Taylor guilty or not guilty of making this a bigger issue than it needs to be? Attorney Carter, what say you?
She is not guilty. You set the record straight, girlfriend, and I'll be in your DMs later.
Attorney Turner?
She's not guilty because she just has something to get off her chest. Iman is guilty for violating that sealed divorce, and he might find himself in jail.
Attorney Weiss?
I'm guilty because I just don't care.
I'm Al, and I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court, and I'm gonna find Teyana Taylor guilty of being in your feelings. If you want this to go away, stop talking about it. Unfortunately, I know that it doesn't feel good. I know he probably did something wrong. I know that he probably didn't follow the rules. But if you want this to go away, let it play out in the courts and enjoy your man. He's fine. He's successful. You're over the basketball player. You're on the bigger and better things. Next up is Marcelus Wiley guilty or not guilty, Attorney Carter?
2 in a month. He's guilty-ish.
All right, Attorney Turner.
Yeah, I think that he's guilty of not reading the room. He made a mistake in how he presented his purported defense.
Okay, Attorney Weiss.
He's guilty of saying too much.
I agree with that. I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court, and I'm going to find Marcelus Wiley guilty of not knowing how to handle your hormones. I can imagine it was a lot, too. Next up is DeMario Jackson guilty or not guilty? Is DeMario Jackson guilty or not guilty? I just feel so bad for him. Look how he's crying. Oh, my God, I feel so bad for him. Is DeMario Jackson guilty or not guilty of not giving a damn and not showing up in court? Attorney Carter, what say you?
He is guilty of being on that stupid reality show. He's guilty of that ridiculous haircut. He is guilty. And definitely of not showing up. Triple guilty. Definitely.
Attorney Turner.
Yeah, I think Attorney Carter pegged it right. He's just guilty of being a fool.
Attorney Weiss.
I'm going to combine all four of those comments and just say they're spot on, the two of them, and he should have hired either Attorney Turner or Attorney Carter. That's all I got to say.
I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court, and we're going to find DeMario Jackson guilty of marrying that crazy woman, okay, or messing with her. Y'all got to learn these snow bunnies. You better figure it out. You better figure it out. If you don't, they're definitely going to help you figure it out. All right, everybody. As you've seen tonight, we've seen lawsuits, we've seen financial fights, we've seen shocking accusations, as well as Hollywood scandals. But one thing remains the same. When you're in the celebrity spotlight, everything you do is on trial. From the Girl Scouts heavy metal controversy to Gene Hackman's surprise will, we've tackled cases that make us question loyalty, legacy, and accountability. Teyana Taylor's divorce shows us that even love isn't immune to legal battles. Marcelus Wiley's allegations raise questions about how long the past should follow us. And let's not mention DeMario Jackson's $1 million mistake proves that ignoring a lawsuit won't make it disappear. But in the court of public opinion, the real verdict comes from you. Are these celebrities guilty, or are they just another headline away from redemption? Let us know what you think. Drop down in the chat. Until next time, court is now adjourned. Thank you for joining us tonight.